Jake Carter lived alone in a small apartment on the edge of the city. He worked as a mechanic, fixing engines all day and coming home to silence. Nothing exciting ever happened in his life, but that was about to change, and he had no idea it was a quiet evening. The sky outside was dark, and rain was falling softly. Jake came home tired and sweaty, ready for a long, hot shower. He didn't notice the strange noise in the bathroom, a low, humming sound. Like something vibrating behind the wall, he turned on the shower and stepped in. At first, everything felt normal, but then the water changed. It wasn't cold or hot, it felt thick, almost like gel. Jake looked up at the showerhead, confused. Something was stuck inside it, a round, metallic object with soft lights blinking on the surface. It looked like a small alien egg, smooth and shiny. Jake reached up to touch it, just trying to pull it loose, but the moment his fingers made contact, it happened. The lights turned bright blue. The humming sound became louder. Jake's body froze, and he couldn't move. He tried to scream, but his mouth wouldn't open. Symbols appeared on his skin, glowing lines moving like tattoos. Then, suddenly, he blacked out. He woke up on the bathroom floor, soaked and shaking. The shower was still running, but the object was gone. Or so he thought. Jake slowly got up, checking his arms and chest. The glowing symbols had disappeared. Maybe I hit my head, he whispered to himself. But then he saw something strange in the corner of the bathroom. A small plant-like pod was growing between the tiles. It looked soft, glowing faintly with a greenish light. He stepped closer, unsure what he was seeing. The pod was breathing, moving slightly. As if alive, Jake backed away, his heart racing. He had never seen anything like this. Maybe it was mold, he thought, or some weird bathroom fungus. He didn't know how it got there, but he didn't want to touch it again. Still, he couldn't stop looking at it. It was beautiful in a strange, alien way, and it was definitely growing fast. By the next morning, the pod had doubled in size. It was now as big as a football, pulsing with life. Jake tried to ignore it and go to work. But even at the garage, he felt strange. His hands shook while fixing engines. He heard whispers in his ears, soft and distant, like voices coming from another world. That night, he couldn't sleep. The humming sound was back, louder than before. He walked into the bathroom with a flashlight. The pod glowed brighter, and the air smelled like burnt metal. Jake grabbed a wrench and slowly reached out. Maybe he could break it, get rid of it. But when he hit the pod, it cried, not a loud cry, but a soft, high-pitched sound, like a baby. Green fluid leaked out, and the pod trembled. Jake dropped the wrench in shock. Then he saw it, a tiny shape moving inside the pod, a small body, curled up with a head and two arms. It was not human, but it was not completely alien either. Jake stepped back, breathing heavily. He didn't know what was happening. But he knew one thing. This was no normal plant. It was alive, and it was growing fast. Later that night, he sat in the dark, staring at the bathroom door. He heard a whisper again, clearer this time, a voice inside his head, not in English, but somehow. He understood it. Guardian selected, process initiated. Jake's hands trembled. What process? What guardian? What had he touched in the shower? He had so many questions, but no answers. Then he noticed something new. The veins on his arm glowed faintly again, just for a second, and in the corner of the bathroom. The pod moved slowly opening. Inside, the small creature opened its eyes. They glowed like silver stars. It looked straight at Jake as if it already knew him. And then the whisper came again. This time with one clear word. Father, asterisk, Jake didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the bathroom door. The words still echoed in his head. Father. He wanted to believe he was dreaming, but every sound, every light, every breath felt too real. The pod was still glowing in the corner of the bathroom, and something was moving inside it, alive, breathing, and aware of him. Jake grabbed his phone and searched online. Alien plants, alien tech, strange biology, nothing made sense. There were no answers, only more questions. He picked up his phone to call someone, maybe the police, maybe a doctor, but he stopped. Who would believe him? He walked back into the bathroom, slowly, carefully. The pod looked bigger now, thicker. Like it had muscles under the surface, soft pulses of light ran along its skin. Jake reached out again, but didn't touch it. Instead, he whispered, "Can you hear me?" The pod responded, not with words, but with a soft vibration in the floor. The lights inside it shifted colors, blue to green, green to gold. Jake noticed something. The small creature inside had grown. It was no longer an embryo. It had arms, fingers, a face, and it was watching him. Its eyes were silver and glowing. It didn't blink. Suddenly, Jake felt dizzy. A sharp pain ran through his head, like a loud ringing deep inside his skull. He grabbed the sink for support, and then it happened again, another whisper in his mind. But this time, it came with a memory, a vision. He saw a world far from Earth, a red sky and two suns. He saw towers made of crystal and creatures walking on four legs. He saw war, explosions, and then silence. A dying voice said, "Preserve the line." Jake gasped and stepped back. His heart beat loud in his ears. "What is this?" he whispered. He splashed cold water on his face, but when he looked in the mirror, he saw it glowing lines across his neck. Like symbols, they faded quickly, but they had been there. The pod was changing him, and he didn't know how, or why. That morning, Jake didn't go to work. He stayed in his apartment, watching the pod, feeding it water, studying it. He took notes, tried to draw the symbols he had seen, but every time he blinked, the patterns changed. The creature inside was still growing faster than before. In hours, it looked like a child, curled up and dreaming. Then, Jake heard a knock at the door. He froze, peeking through the peephole. He saw a man in a gray suit, no expression on his face. Beside him stood a woman, holding a small device that blinked red. They were scanning something, and the scanner pointed at Jake's apartment. He didn't open the door. Instead, he backed away and grabbed his wrench. The pod pulsed faster, like it felt the danger too. Jake whispered, "Stay quiet," as if the pod could understand. The people outside didn't knock again. After a minute, they walked away. Jake waited, breathing hard, trying to stay calm. He didn't know who they were, but he was sure they weren't normal government agents. They knew something. Maybe they were looking for the pod, or maybe for him. Later that day, Jake heard something even stranger. The pod was humming, softly, like a lullaby. He leaned close and heard it not just sound, but words. It was singing in a strange alien language. But inside his head, it translated, safe, warm, grow, chosen. Jake felt something inside him change. Not just fear now, but connection. He wasn't just watching the pod, he was part of it. Linked somehow then, without warning, the pod cracked. A small piece of its outer layer broke open, and steam hissed out. Jake jumped back, ready to run. But then he saw the creature's hand slowly reach out, tiny fingers, long and smooth. Touched the tile floor. The child was waking up. Its body was still part of the pod, like it hadn't fully separated, but its head turned, and its silver eyes opened again. They looked right into Jake's soul, calm and deep. It didn't speak, but he heard the thought clearly in his mind. "You are the first." Jake dropped to his knees, stunned. Something ancient had chosen him. Not by mistake, but on purpose. He didn't know what it meant yet, but one thing was certain. The pod was no longer just a mystery. It was a beginning, and beginnings always come with consequences. Jake sat in the corner of the room, staring at the pod. The child inside was no longer just growing. It was awakening. It moved slowly. Like it was learning how to use its body. Its eyes, glowing silver, never looked away from him. It didn't speak with a mouth, but its thoughts echoed inside Jake's mind. Clear, soft, and strange. "You are the first," the voice had said. But what did that mean? Why him? Why here? Jake stood up slowly, trying to stay calm. He grabbed a blanket and carefully covered the pod. The last thing he wanted was someone else to see it. Especially those people from before, the man and woman in gray. He hadn't seen them again. But he felt like they were still watching the red scanner they used. It had found something inside this apartment. Jake walked to his desk and opened his notebook. It was full of messy notes, drawings, and strange symbols. Some of them he remembered from the pod. Others had come to him in dreams. He flipped through the pages, trying to make sense of the patterns, but they changed every time he looked, like the language was alive, moving, shifting. That night, the whispers returned, this time louder, not just words, but images, visions that burned into his mind like fire. He saw a dying world, skies filled with ash, alien cities crushed by giant machines. Tall creatures with silver skin screamed as they fell. Ships rose from the surface, carrying glowing pods, just like the one in Jake's bathroom. One of them floated in space, alone, waiting, searching. Then he saw Earth, a blue and green planet spinning in darkness. The pod found it, entered the atmosphere, and crashed unnoticed. Until now, Jake gasped and fell back, his body shaking. He opened his eyes and realized he had fallen asleep on the floor. His head was pounding, sweat dripped down his neck. But the vision was still burning behind his eyes. He looked at the pod again, and this time, the child was fully awake. It had separated from the outer shell. Now resting in the warm glow of the cocoon, Jake walked closer, and the child reached out. Touching his hand, the moment their skin touched, a wave of energy flowed through him, a rush of memories, data, and pain. He saw the name of the race, the Varelians, a peaceful species that mastered genetics and memory transfer when their world was dying. They stored their entire knowledge into reproduction devices meant to merge with another species. To keep their legacy alive, you are the vessel. The voice said in his head. Jake took a step back, afraid. "I didn't ask for this," he whispered. But the child only stared, silent and calm. Then the lights flickered. The building shook slightly, like a small earthquake had passed. Jake rushed to the window and looked outside. A black car was parked on the street, the same car from before, and it wasn't alone now. Two more were nearby. Their windows tinted, engines running. Jake felt a chill crawl down his spine. He knew he didn't have much time. Someone wanted the pod, or the child, or maybe him, and they weren't going to knock this time. Suddenly, the TV turned on by itself. No signal, just static. Then a voice came through the speakers, deep, broken, and digital. "You have activated Protocol Echo. You are now linked to Memory Stream, a 7-to-1. Prepare for genetic synchronization." Jake stared in horror. What did that mean? He turned off the TV, but it turned back on by itself, now showing flashes of alien code. Then it went black. Jake ran to the bathroom. The child was glowing. Soft rings of light floated around her body. The pod itself had dissolved into mist. Disappearing into the air, the entire room smelled like ozone and metal. The child turned her head and looked at Jake. Her lips moved, and this time, she actually spoke aloud. The voice was quiet, but crystal clear. "They are listening now." Jake's heart dropped. He looked around, half expecting the walls to break or the windows to shatter. He didn't know who they were, but he knew she wasn't lying. Jake moved fast, grabbing a bag, packing clothes, food. and tools. He wrapped the child in a towel and held her gently. She didn't resist, only whispered again, "They will. Take me and end everything," as he opened the door to leave. His phone rang. Unknown number, no name. He picked it up carefully, his hand shaking. A voice spoke cold and clear. "We know what you have, Mr. Carter. Do not run." Jake hung up and ran down the stairs. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew one thing. He wasn't safe anymore. And the world had just become something far bigger than he ever imagined. Jake ran through the empty streets, holding the strange alien child close to his chest. The city lights flickered above him, and the night felt heavy with tension. Behind him, the black cars from before were moving. Slow and silent, like shadows. On wheels, he didn't look back. He couldn't. If he stopped now, it would all be over. The child didn't cry. She just looked up at him, silver eyes glowing softly. Even though she was small, there was something ancient in her face. Something too old for a body that young. Jake tightened his grip and kept moving. He reached an abandoned warehouse near the train tracks. He used to come here as a teenager too. Hide. Tonight, it would be their shelter, at least for now. Jake laid the child down on a soft pile of blankets he found in the corner. He tried to catch his breath, wiping sweat from his forehead. The child closed her eyes, but didn't sleep. She was listening, always listening. Then Jake heard it. Footsteps, not loud, not rushed, calm, heavy, and deliberate. He reached for a metal pipe nearby, ready to defend himself. But the moment the figure stepped through the broken doorway, he froze. A tall man in a dark blue coat walked in, hands raised. He had silver-rimmed glasses and a badge that didn't look like any police Jake had ever seen. Behind him stood a woman with short hair and a glowing wristband. They weren't part of the military or the government. They were something else entirely. "Mr. Carter," the man said, his voice calm. "We're not here to hurt you." Jake didn't lower the pipe. "Who are you?" he asked. "What do you want from me?" The woman spoke next, her voice colder. "We're with Arkwatch," she said. "We monitor alien signals, lost technology, and incidents like yours." Jake laughed nervously. "Incidents like mine. So this isn't the first time someone found whatever that is." The man stepped closer, slowly. "No," he said, "but it's the first time the device responded this strongly." Jake looked down at the child, who was now sitting up. Watching the visitors carefully. "You're not taking her," Jake said firmly. "She's not a thing. She's alive." The woman raised the wristband, and it beeped. "She's not supposed to be alive," she muttered. "Not fully." The man held out his hand. "You're bonded with it, aren't you? She talks to you, shows you visions." Jake hesitated. "She called me father," he said quietly. "She shows me things I can't explain." The man nodded. "That's the rebirth protocol," he explained. "The pod used your DNA too. Complete the cycle. She's not just alien anymore. She's part human." Jake's eyes widened. "But why me?" "I'm just a mechanic," the woman replied this time. "The device chose you because you were compatible. You were in the right place at the right time." The child finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. "No, I chose him." The warehouse fell silent. Even the wind outside seemed to stop. The man stared at the child, shocked. She's not supposed to be speaking yet. This level of growth. It's impossible. The woman took a step back, nervous. "We need to contact Central," she whispered. This could trigger a recall event. Jake moved in front of the child protectively. "What's a recall event?" he demanded. The man looked at him with serious eyes. "If she continues evolving like this, she might activate the origin signal. That signal would call whatever's left of her creators. They might come here." Jake felt the world tilt again. "You mean more of them?" An entire alien species. Or worse, the woman added, something that hunts them. Jake shook his head. No, she's just a child. She hasn't hurt anyone. She hasn't yet, the man said. But she might not be able to control it. She's connected to systems far beyond our understanding. Suddenly, the child stood up. Her eyes turned completely silver, glowing brighter than before. She pointed toward the sky. They're listening. She said, they're moving. The woman's wristband started blinking red. The signal was spiking loud, strong, spreading fast. Satellites across Earth were already picking it up. Someone or something had just received the call. Jake backed away, confused and scared. What do we do now? He asked. The man from Arkwatch looked at the child, then back at Jake. There's only one choice left, T said. Either we help you protect her, or we help the world destroy her. Jake stood between the agents and the child. The warehouse was silent, except for the soft humming sound coming from her body. She wasn't afraid. Not anymore. She looked calm. Too calm for someone or something so young, the man from Ark. Watch lowered his voice. She is not just a child, he said. She is a genetic beacon. Jake didn't move. She's alive, he said quietly. She learns, feels, understands. She's not a weapon. The woman tapped her glowing wristband again. Scanning the child, the numbers on the screen kept changing rapidly. She's evolving, she said, her voice tense. Her brain activity is already beyond human limits. The child looked at her hands and blinked slowly. I am learning. Fast, she said. But it's hard to control. Everything is waking up. Jake turned to her. What do you mean? Oh, it's waking up. She pointed to her head. My memories, she whispered. The ones that were locked. Jake felt a chill. The girl wasn't just absorbing human information. She was remembering her past life. The life of a Varelian. The alien race that PCOS. The alien race that created the pod. She carried their entire history inside her. And that history was starting to break free. Suddenly, her body shimmered for a brief moment. Her skin became semi-transparent, showing glowing veins beneath. Strange patterns pulsed. Along her arms and neck, Jake rushed to her side, holding her gently. Are you okay? He asked. The child nodded slowly. I am. Changing, she said. It's part of the process. The Arkwatch man stepped closer. Cautiously. This is dangerous, he said. If she evolves too quickly, her systems might send another pulse into space that could bring attention. We don't want too late, the woman said, checking her scanner. A signal already went out. Short range, encrypted. Jake looked at the child. Did you send a message? He asked. The child tilted her head. I didn't mean to, she said. It came from inside me. She reached out and touched Jake's hand. Her touch was warm. But a wave of energy flowed through him again, and with it, another vision. He saw a fleet of ships in deep space, dark, cold, and sleeping. Each ship carried more pods. More embryos, more Varelian memories. They had been drifting for centuries, waiting for a signal to wake them. Now, one of those ships had received something. A whisper, a ping. Jake snapped back to reality. Gasping, he stared at the child. You're not the only one, are you? He asked. The girl lowered her head. No, she said. I'm just the first. The agents looked at each other in shock. If one pod made it to Earth, there could be more, some still hidden. Some still dormant, waiting to be found. Waiting for someone like Jake to activate them. Suddenly, outside the warehouse, the night was broken by a low rumble. A strange triangular craft hovered above the train tracks. Silent and glowing. It wasn't human. It wasn't part of Arkwatch. It had come in response to the signal. The man from Arkwatch swore under his breath. They're early, he said. They shouldn't have found us this fast. The woman grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to move," she said. "If they're here for the child, they won't ask questions." Jake picked her up again, holding her close. "Who are they?" he asked, running behind the agents toward the back exit. The man answered while opening a hidden door. "Not Varelians," he said. "They're called the Null. They destroy any species that tries to carry memory across stars." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "You mean they kill them? Like entire civilizations?" The man nodded. "They see memory as infection. They think life should end naturally, without being reborn," as they exited the warehouse. A beam of light scanned the space behind them. The craft was searching, hunting. The child looked up at the sky and whispered, "They are afraid of me." Jake looked at her, confused. "Why?" He asked. "Because I remember everything," she said, "and I can change what comes next." They reached a van parked nearby. The agents helped Jake and the child inside, then drove fast through the back roads. City lights faded behind them. And above, the alien ship hovered, watching but not attacking yet, inside the van. The girl closed her eyes and rested her head on Jake's shoulder. "I am tired," she said softly, "but I will protect you." Jake didn't know what the future would bring. He didn't know if Earth was safe, or if war was coming, but one thing was certain. This child, this part human, part alien being was no longer just a secret. She was the key to something bigger, older, and more powerful than anything Earth had ever seen. And others were coming to claim her. The van sped through the dark countryside. Jake held the alien child close, her head resting against his chest. The agents from Arkwatch sat in silence, their faces tense and pale. Outside, the sky shimmered with strange flickers of light, like something beyond the clouds was watching them. For the first time, Jake noticed the stars looked different. They weren't still, they moved. Not all of them, just a few like blinking eyes in the sky. Tracking their van, the child stirred and opened her eyes. Her voice was quiet but firm. "They're here." The female agent, still checking her glowing wristband, looked up sharply. "The Null Fleet?" she asked. The child nodded slowly. "They received the code," she said. "I didn't mean to send it." Jake stared at her. "What code? What did you send?" The child closed her eyes for a moment. Then a soft glow appeared on her forehead, the same alien symbols Jake had seen before. "It was already inside me," she whispered. "Part of the Varelian emergency signal." The male agent leaned forward, his face pale. "If she activated the invasion code," he said, "then it's not just the Null. Others will come too." Jake's hands trembled. "What is the invasion code?" he asked. "Is it a weapon?" The agent shook his head. "No," he said. "It's worse. It's a call to all Varelian ships. Survivors, guardians, and enemies. It was designed to wake the entire network to rebuild the Varelian race or warn them of total extinction." Jake swallowed hard. "And we just lit a galactic flare." The van suddenly shook. Above them, one of the strange triangular crafts passed by again, scanning the ground with a wide beam of white light. The child reached out her hand and whispered something in a language Jake couldn't understand. And the beam flickered for a second. The ship stopped moving. It hovered, then slowly pulled back into the sky. She disrupted their systems. The woman said, stunned, "She's already learning how to manipulate their tech." Jake looked at the child. "Can you control them?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not yet, but I can slow them. The code is spreading through space, waking old minds." They arrived at a hidden Arkwatch base, built under a quiet hill. The elevator took them deep underground, through layers of reinforced metal. Inside, there were scientists, soldiers, screens showing strange symbols and satellite feeds from space. Panic was growing, but everything stopped when they saw the child. Some stared in fear, others in awe. Jake didn't care what they thought. She wasn't a thing to be studied. She was alive, and she trusted him. The lead scientist approached, eyes wide. She's already bonded to Earth's biosphere. He said, checking a scanner. She's syncing with global frequencies. The male agent turned to Jake. If the signal keeps growing, the planet won't just be a target. It will become a beacon. Jake stepped forward. What if we stop the signal? He asked, what if we shut it down? The child looked at him, her face calm. I can stop it, she said. But if I do, I will forget. Forget what? Jake asked, gently. Everything, she replied. My past life, my purpose, even you. Jake froze, the idea of losing. Even her memory, twisted something inside him. But if it meant saving the world, could he ask her to do it? Before he could answer, alarms blared across the base. Red lights flashed, and soldiers ran to control panels. One of the scientists shouted, Object entering Earth's orbit. It's not null, it's bigger. They pulled up the image. On the main screen, a massive dark ship slowly turning above Earth. It was shaped like a flower, with petals made of black metal. Each petal held pods, glowing like stars. Thousands of them, a voice echoed from deep inside the child's chest. They have arrived. The male agent spoke quickly. That's not an invasion fleet. That's a Varelian ark. Jake stepped back. An ark? You mean? Full of more like her? Yes, the scientist said. Frozen embryos, tech, knowledge. They've been waiting for a response for centuries. The ark slowly opened, sending a low signal to the surface. The same symbols appeared on screens all around the base. Only the child understood them instantly. They want to land, she said. They're asking permission from their own. Everyone turned to Jake, the one bonded to the first living Varelian, the one who had accidentally activated it all. Jake looked at the child, his voice shaky. What should we do? She walked to the center of the room, her eyes glowing bright. If we accept them, we restart a race that once ruled stars. If we reject them, they will return to sleep and the null. Jake asked, They won't stop, she said. But I won't let them hurt you. Then she touched the screen. The Earth sent out a pulse. A welcome, simple, and powerful above. The ark began to descend, and for the first time, Earth was no longer alone. The Varelian ark hovered in Earth's upper atmosphere. Its shadow stretched across the clouds, silent and vast. From space, it looked like a sleeping god, waiting for permission to rise or fall inside the underground Ark Watch base. No one moved, everyone waited for what came next. Jake stood beside the alien child, her silver eyes locked on the screen around them. Computers buzzed with unreadable symbols. The child's hands glowed faintly as she processed every signal. From the ark above, she had become the bridge between Earth and the stars. And now, she was deciding what kind of future that bridge would bring. The Ark Watch agents stood ready. The Ark posed a threat. They had weapons, plans, and codes, but deep down, they knew none of it would matter. The technology up there was beyond anything humans had ever built. The male agent stepped forward, voice steady. Do we know their intention? He asked. Are they here in peace? The child nodded slowly. They seek rebirth, she said. They want to finish what the pod started. Jake took a deep breath. If they all wake up, he said, will they be like you? She looked up at him, her voice soft. Some will be kind, she said. Some will be confused, and some may not accept Earth. Before anyone could speak, the base shook violently. The lights flickered. A loud hum echoed through the walls. On the main screen, a dark shape appeared, sharp, fast, and terrifying. It wasn't from the Ark. It was a null warship, one of many. They had arrived in orbit without a sound. Hidden behind Earth's moon, now they moved with precision, blocking the Ark from entering the atmosphere. Their message was clear. No rebirth, no memory, no future. The Null feared what the Varelians represented, and now they were ready to erase them once again. The child stepped closer to the screen. Raising her hand, symbols lit up across her skin, flowing like rivers of light. "I can stop them," she said, "but I must connect to the Ark fully." Jake stepped in front of her. "What happens if you do?" Kay asked. She looked at him. With sad eyes, "I will change." She whispered, "My mind will no longer be only mine." Jake felt a lump in his throat. "You won't be." "You anymore?" She nodded slowly. "I will become the voice of the Ark." A silence fell over the room. Everyone waited for Jake's answer. Even the agents didn't speak. It wasn't their decision. It was his. Jake knelt beside the child, holding her small hands in his. "You don't have to do this," he said. "We can hide, protect you." The child shook her head. "They will destroy everything." She said, "Not just me, not just the Ark." Earth 2. Jake took a deep breath, then gave her a small smile. "Then show them who you are." He said, "Show them what it means to be human." She touched the control panel. And everything changed, the base filled with light. Soft and golden above, the Ark responded instantly. Its petals opened like a flower in bloom. Beams of light connected the child to the ship, and for the first time, she wasn't just speaking. For herself, she spoke for an entire lost species. She spoke for Earth. The Null ships opened fire. Beams of red light shooting toward the Ark, but they never landed. A pulse of energy exploded outward. Not as a weapon, but as a memory. Every Null ship was hit with the same thing. Visions, stories, emotions. They saw the Varelian children laughing. They saw cities falling, parents running, stars dying. They felt the pain of loss, the hope of rebirth, the fear of being forgotten, and for a moment, they hesitated. Jake watched from the base as the Null fleet froze. One by one, their weapons powered down. One by one, their ships turned slightly, not away. But in silence, as if listening, the child's body glowed brighter than ever. She spoke one final word, not with her mouth, but across space. "Remember?" And the sky was quiet again. Hours passed. The Null ships slowly pulled away from Earth. They didn't attack. They didn't respond. They simply vanished into the stars. The Ark lowered gently, not to land, but to remain in orbit. A sanctuary, a library, a living museum of everything that had been lost. Inside, others would wake. Guided by what the child had become, Jake sat alone in the quiet of the base, staring at the empty spot where she once stood. She wasn't gone, but she wasn't a child anymore. She had become something greater, a voice, a protector, a legacy. The male agent approached. Placing a hand on Jake's shoulder, "She saved us all," he said. Jake nodded. "Yes," he whispered, "but she also reminded us who we could be." Outside, the stars shimmered, and for the first time in human history, they shimmered with purpose, not as unreachable points of light, but as bridges to something greater. And Earth, small, stubborn Earth, had earned its place among them.